Question: many people are asking about the issue of Aisha's age at the time of her marriage. Please guide. Answer: first, I want you to note that this question has nothing to do with the Holy Quran, nor it is related to the Sunnah of the Prophet. Rather, it is related to history. As for our history, every knowledgeable person must realize that this history has not been written by a contemporary historian. There was not a single historian during the era of the Prophet or 8 to 9 decades after him who could have written down the history. The writing of our history started after 100 years of the death of the Prophet based on oral narration from people to people. These stories traveled within generations. Our hadith experts, muhaddithin, put these oral stories in order to write down the history of Islam. Our historians were also bound to rely on these very narrations. It means that, for a period of 100 years, not a single historian came out to record the history. When a contemporary historian writes history, he investigates the whole issue with due deliberation because it is the call of his historian mind. People tell stories in their own ways to give it a new direction. After putting together these stories, the history of Islam has been written. These are the stories which traveled through different generations. This formed the narration that at the time of marriage contract, nikah, of Aisha, she was only 6 and her marriage was consummated at the age of 9. You can read about this issue in my book Muqaddimat, Selected Essays of Javed Ahmad Ghamidi. The book contains an article in which I have raised some questions regarding the age of Aisha at the time of her marriage. These questions are based on the material put together by our historians. I will put this matter before you and you can see if this narration can truly be acceptable or reasonable. The way these people relate the whole issue, and if any of you wishes to investigate the matter further, the first book of history of Islam is Tabaqat ibn Sa'd. You can see the issue in the translation of the chapter on Sayyida Aisha. I have also quoted the important excerpts in my article. Let me tell you the story. The Holy Prophet's first wife was Sayyida Khadija. When he married Khadija, he was about 25 years old. About Sayyida Khadija, it is said that she was a widowed woman, had a number of children and was about 38 to 40 years as stated in different narrations. She stayed with the Prophet for a long time. She died after spending 25 years as a wife of the Prophet. By then, the Prophet had reached the age of 50. After her departure, the Prophet would perform his obligation of preaching the religion, seek financial resources for his family, and look after his children. All these responsibilities made the Prophet look weak and feel dejected. He also missed his dearest wife Khadija. It is said that a Sahabiya, Kala, came across the Holy Prophet while traveling. She said to the Prophet, "Messenger of God, I am worried to see you troubled and helpless. You do not have anyone to look after your house and children. Why don't you get married?" The Prophet asked, "Do you know someone I should get married to?" The Prophet was 50 years of age and had children at his home. To manage the household, a person needs help of a wife. A wife also works as a mutual companion to her husband. A wife is not only a means of sexual relations. She is a life partner of her husband. Kala suggested to the Prophet that he should have a wife who can take care of him and look after his children. The Prophet asked if she had any such woman in notice. She replied, "Yes. You can get a young unmarried girl as well as a widowed woman to marry." The Prophet asked, "Who is the unmarried girl?" The Sahabiya replied that she was the daughter of Prophet's brother-like friend Abu Bakr Siddiq. The Sahabiya replied that she was the daughter of Prophet's brother-like friend Abu Bakr Siddiq. She also told that Sayyida Sauda is one of the first women to convert to Islam, is aged about 50, and is a widowed woman. Now I put the question on you that, as I believe and you may also believe that, a Sahabiya must be talking to the Prophet when she is in complete senses. Do you think she can offer a child of 6 years for marriage? You can see that a person gets married for physical intimacy, which is not possible in this case. And to look after the children, which is also not possible either, because Prophet's children were older than Aisha. Was Kala offering the Prophet, who already had children, to get one more child in his responsibility? Such an idea is not acceptable to a person who has knowledge and reason to see the matters. So, Kala made this offer and the Prophet told her to send the proposal. When someone makes a suggestion like this, what else do you say but to send the proposal? It means if they agree, I will listen to your suggestion to get married. She went to Abu Bakr Siddiq's family and put forward the proposal of the Prophet. Now listen to the response of Abu Bakr's family. They said that they had already accepted a marriage proposal for Aisha from another family years ago. However, after conversion to Islam, the family is reluctant to finalize the marriage. If Aisha was 6 years old at that time, it means her marriage proposal was accepted by her family approximately when she was 3 or 4 years old. Does it make sense at all? After listening to the complication of the Abu Bakr family, Kala went to Sayyida Sauda. Sauda accepted the proposal. When she returned, she learned that Abu Bakr had gone to the family where Aisha was supposed to get married. The family told Abu Bakr that since he had got strayed, they would not complete the marriage. Thus, the proposal was nullified. Since the Prophet had sent proposal to both the families, he accepted both the ladies and brought Sayyida Sauda at his home as his bride. The wisdom behind this was that if he brought an aged woman who had been widowed and is almost 50 in age, along with a young virgin girl, the rights of the young lady will be violated. So he preferred Sauda despite that his both proposals had been accepted. He also knew that Sauda could look after the children and manage the house in a better way. The marriage of Aisha did not complete immediately. After spending 3 years in Mecca and 2 years in Medina, Abu Bakr Siddiq requested the Prophet to take Aisha home because both parties had agreed. Still, the Prophet went to Sauda and offered to divorce her if she had some reservations about Aisha's marriage. She said, I have reached the age where I do not need the company of a man. However, I do wish to die as a wife of the last Prophet. Therefore, I devote my share of your time for the new bride. Only then the Prophet brought Aisha home as his bride. This is the whole story. Can you imagine such a thing?